You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
Most writers and radio show hosts know that to connect with your fans, you need to do more than just write books or record the latest podcasts. There are many different elements that go into forming an online platform, but there are also many hidden traps. To make matters worse, solid advice on how to survive the muddy waters is scarce. In the book Hidden Traps, I talk about some of the important issues of working with an online platform, highlighting traps that could put your physical or internet security at risk, or be harmful to your reputation. Are your social media posts just links with a few disjointed words, making you look like someone who can't complete a sentence? Did your new website cost you more than you anticipated? Are you leaking your personal contact details across the web without even knowing it? Then you need Hidden Traps. Hidden Traps is now available in paperback and ebook from a variety of retailers, including Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Kobo. Visit blackwolfpublications.com for more details.
If you're 85 or younger, would you like peace of mind and comfort for your family? We're Final Expense Direct with an urgent message for you. The average funeral today costs over $8,000, but the most you'll get from government benefits is $255. How will your family pay the difference? We can help. Our senior plans start as low as just $1 a day and pay up to $30,000 for a funeral and other final expenses. Peace of mind is easy. There's no medical exam. You'll have lifetime coverage, and your plan can't be canceled as long as you pay your premiums. Call now for free information about our senior plans. Answer a few simple questions and receive approval right on the phone. Plus, call right now and we'll give you a discount prescription card for free. Call 800-553-8687. That's 800-553-8687. Again, 800-553-8687.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
Everyone loves liberty. Our rights come from God, not the government. So why are you letting other people tell you what's best for your healthcare? Exercise your freedom with Liberty Health Share. Liberty Health Share is a community of people who voluntarily share one another's medical costs. Liberty Health Share is founded on the idea that most people truly want to help one another. Healthcare sharing allows members to do just that as a true community that supports one another in times of need. Liberty believes people should make decisions for themselves and their families. Members are able to take back the freedom to make their own decisions about their healthcare. Freedom from guilt or doubt about how your money is used. You have the freedom to direct your healthcare, not to be dictated to by bureaucrats. Stop letting others tell you what to do and join a community of like-minded people. Exercise your freedom. Join Liberty Health Share and take back the control of your healthcare while helping those around you. Call Liberty at 855-58-LIBERTY. Again, that's 855-58-LIBERTY for more information, or you can check them out at libertyhealthshare.org. Again, that's libertyhealthshare.org.
My son was in the Army back during Desert Storm, but even then he wanted an MBA. He looked at a dozen schools, but only one offered the online education and flexibility he needed while he was in a tent in Iraq, Grantham University. Turns out that Grantham's been delivering affordable, relevant college and advanced degrees for over 65 years. Heck, if they can deliver a quality education to a soldier in a tent overseas, think about the flexibility Grantham can offer you so you can earn your degree too. It doesn't matter how complicated or full your life is. If getting a degree is on your bucket list, you'll want to do what my son did. You'll want to call Grantham. Find out how easy it is to get started on your education so you can check that college degree off your bucket list. Call Grantham right now, 800-910-1370. That's 800-910-1370. Flexible, affordable, relevant. Call 800-910-1370.
At St. Jude, a family never sees a bill at all. It's like the world has been lifted off of your shoulders.
St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. Finding cures, saving children. Learn more at stjude.org.
Sometimes writers feel lost, unsure why a passage may not be working. The takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing into full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, offering manuscript critiques and line edits through a mentoring editorial style. We also offer assistance on generating a writer's bio for your websites. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services, visit blackwolfeditorial.com.
You're listening to the Spark Radio Network, internet radio like you've never heard before. Innovation, creativity, and imagination are all said to begin with a spark. So fasten your seatbelt and take the ride of your life and listen for the spark.
Get ready to fight from within. You're about to go behind enemy lines.
Roger, 3-2. Goliath copies all. Go ahead. Target is surrounded by multiple firms entering what appears to be a residential area. Requesting permission to engage. Over.
From the People's Republic of New York City, you're now going behind enemy lines with Gene Baradelli and Russ Gallo.
And you are now behind enemy lines. Hey there, how you doing, America? Gene Baradelli here with you. So glad you can be with us, whether you're listening at www.behindenemylinesradio.us or if you're checking us out on AM radio, FM radio, internet radio. We're glad you tuned in, locked and loaded for another great show. Or if we're traveling along with you as a podcast, we are so happy to be along for the ride. Got a tale of two shows this week for you folks. We're going to start out with, of course, remembering all of our great listeners in the Florida, Georgia area, especially those of you who were affected by Hurricane Irma. Our thoughts and prayers are with you. I know a lot of what you're going through, having gone through Superstorm Sandy and the cleanup effort that you're going to have to endure for a while. And, you know, my thoughts and prayers are with you. We know you're going to come back stronger than ever, better than ever. It's going to take a while. It's not going to happen tomorrow. It's not going to happen the next day. Normal is going to have to be put aside for a little bit. But you're going to get through it. We know you can. You're strong. That's why you're listening to this show, because we know that you're great people, proud Americans, and we're pulling for you guys down there, especially all of us Yankees here in the People's Republic of New York. Like we said, we got a tale of two shows this week. Of course, we have to observe, as we always do, one of the darkest anniversaries ever, September 11th, has recently passed. As we're broadcasting this show, it happened this week. And, you know, it's with a heavy heart that I always do this show. But we're going to do something even more so than we've done in past years. Of course, you know, I'll talk to you about my own experiences and all that. But I have something special. I have actual radio runs from New York City on September 11th that I've put together for you. And you'll be able to hear those moments, feel those moments. Because I think we're starting to forget in this country what exactly happened that day. I think we're starting to fall into that lull of remembrance. That, yes, we remember the day, but we don't... Obviously, we it's not as close as it was in past years of remembering. I think we become a little complacent. I think we don't realize what's at stake in the world anymore. When we talk about a war on terror, when we talk about what's going on with Iran and what's going on, we still have troops dying overseas in Iraq and Afghanistan. And you can check out those numbers at www.behindenemylinesradio.us. Every year we put it up and we add, unfortunately, a new tally to that number. We're up over 8,700 deaths of American soldiers and civilians in Iraq and Afghanistan. Nobody's reporting on this anymore. Nobody wants to know about it. It's out of sight, out of mind. The war on terror, we're being told that we're winning it. It's out of sight, out of mind in a lot of the media. We're talking about Russia. We're talking about, rightfully so, we're talking about the hurricanes. We're talking about a nuclear North Korea. We're talking about Iran. It's out there, but it's not out there. I get this feeling that we're forgetting. We're forgetting those moments and what happened and how this nation was attacked. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play some clips. These are actual radio runs that we obtained here behind enemy lines. I've had them for years, actually. They were given to me as part of a compilation that was created by the Police Benevolence Association in New York City. And I've had this, believe it or not, it's a CD-ROM that was put together by thinblueline.com. And it's a volume of radio runs and different remembrances and compilations that I gave when we donated to thinblueline.com. All the proceeds went to the New York City PBA Widows and Children's Fund. And I'm going to play some of them for you now, because we should never forget how it was that day. I know as a New Yorker, I'll never forget how it was. I wasn't even in New York that day. I was still in law school at the time. I had just arrived early for my advanced writing class, and I was in the library getting ready for that class. When I'm in the library in Connecticut at Quinnipiac University School of Law, and a friend from New York City comes in and says a plane just hit the World Trade Center. And I'm thinking a small Cessna, a private plane, something like that. And then he turns on the TV, he's trying to explain to me what's going on, and he turns on the Today Show, just in time for me to see the second plane strike the World Trade Center. So, as you can tell by hearing me a little bit, I'm a little heavy in talking about this, guys. But we need to remember this. We need to keep this story going. We have a generation now that was born in a world that existed post-September 11, 2001. And they don't remember what it was like pre-September 11th. They only know this world. They only know the world where innocence was lost in America. And I truly believe that. We've started to accept things like increased security and armed police that are armed to the gills. Things that didn't exist back when I was growing up or even as a young adult. We need to remember. We can never forget. Never forget is not just a bunch of words. So I'm going to play this first run. And this is real NYPD radio runs. Here's when the South Tower collapsed.
Okay. One of the buildings is partially collapsed, and the whole entire area is dead. Transmitting the urgent, identified. C3, a major collapse in one of the towers. Tower, Kate. The South Tower, major collapse. 10-4. Banana Fieldcom, Kate. Banana Fieldcom. 26 standby, Banana Fieldcom. Banana Fieldcom. 6 to Manhattan, urgent. Marine 6. Tower 2 has had a major explosion and what appears to be a complete collapse surrounding the entire area. Marine 6, 10-4, we were notified, Kate. Banana Fieldcom, Kate. Banana Fieldcom.
Now, what you were hearing were FDNY communications. When you heard Fieldcom, Manhattan Fieldcom, that was the Fieldcom van that was on site by the towers. I believe it was a backup van, and that van ended up being lost during the attacks. Also, you heard Marine 6. You may have heard stories about Marine 6. That's the fire department boat that reported the second plane hitting the towers. It also reported, as you heard, the South Tower, Tower 2 collapsing, when you heard the other reports coming in as well. During this time, you also had members of FDNY and NYPD, first responders, trapped in various areas of the city during this time, and you know, you have to remember how chaotic it was back then during this time. You also have to remember the time. We're talking about 2001. We're not talking about social media, and you know, smartphones were not as prevalent as they are now. You know, I think I still had a flip phone or something like that. I'm trying to remember. I don't even remember. I know that in my personal experience, I did have a cell phone, and I was one of the few people to actually get through to my family on a cell phone while I was up at law school. I remember that much. I remember landlines being completely useless. I know that in talking to my family, that my father was working. He was working as a towboat operator at the time, and he was on the water. And let me tell you, and I've never released these personally myself, the photos that he took from that day of approaching Manhattan from the water. And, you know, if you don't know, they ended up calling for boats to blockade Manhattan through the Narrows there, the Verrazano Narrows that leads into Manhattan, because they didn't know if there was going to be another attack coming by water. And my father was part of that blockade, and eventually he used his towboat to transport people out of Lower Manhattan across to Brooklyn, almost like a ferry, taking, you know, as many people as he can on a boat that would be safe enough to travel, going across and going back multiple times. And while he was on Manhattan, the photos he took that I have, I've never shared them. Maybe I'll share them soon. But the photos he took of the cloud of debris coming towards him, and I think he has a picture of one of the engines. There's some mechanical piece of equipment that's on the ground that I can't identify. Maybe I'll put it up and you can see it for yourself. Just amazing things. My father, I'm proud to say, was one of the heroes that day. I remember he got an award from an Italian American society that recognized what he did that day, and it's hard to even talk about it now. But here's another radio run. This is a clip of first responders accounting for where they are and trapped in different sections of Lower Manhattan, whether it be subway stations or other buildings at the World Trade Center.
Be advised we have units trapped in the train station, Park Place on the 2 and 3 line, Park Place 2 and 3, and we also have officers trapped Chambers Street on the E&C line, on the Eddie and Charlie line. We have officers trapped.
Try to raise those trapped officers. Alright, officers out on Rector Trinity Place. You on the air? Alright, you just let me just tell you where we're getting calls from. We got Rector Street and Trinity. We got a building collapse with officers possibly trapped in the train station. That's the location. Rector Street and Trinity Place. We also got Albany and West Street. We got 1/2 of 13 George unaccounted for. We got 6 World Trade, 7 World Trade, and the North Tower. We got report to officer strapped under debris. We also got Park Place and Chambers on the 2 and 3. We got a report of officers trapped in the train station. I'll read it again. We got Trinity and Rector, Albany and West, 6 World Trade, 7 World Trade. We have Chambers and West. 13 traffic sergeant. Oh, yeah. 13 traffic sergeant. Traffic sergeant, to Seacon. There's several MOSs trapped inside of building 5. Sergeant, where at, Sarge? In the basement. On the ground level and the basement level. We have ambulances at Spruce and Park Row if possible. Spruce and Park Row. I 10-4. Detail Sergeant, Victor. We need VSU over at Broadway and Fulton. We have cops trapped inside the subway. Broadway and Fulton, Kate? There's cops trapped inside the subway. We can't do nothing down there. Alright, that's a 10-4.
Obviously, it was complete chaos that day. America had just been attacked. We don't know if other attacks were coming. And obviously, we hear about what's happening at the Pentagon. And we hear about Flight 93. going down sometime later, of course. As for my personal day, my day was spent, I left school after I got in touch with my family, and I went home, and I did what most Americans did, watch the news coverage, and my heart was aching for not being in New York. I mean, a day before, I was thinking about going to the New York Penn League Championships for the Brooklyn Cyclones. It was their first year of existence with baseball returning to Brooklyn, and we were up 1-0, and I was getting ready to watch what I thought was going to be the greatest moment in Brooklyn baseball history since the '55 Dodgers. That was what was on my mind the day before. And the day after 9/11, I'm driving back into New York City. And it's an eerie feeling as I'm watching so many people drive across the Whitestone Bridge from Queens into the Bronx, heading out of the city, heading, I guess, north and into New England, upstate, and wherever. And I'm one of very few driving back into New York City. It was a very eerie feeling heading back to New York on September 12th. And it was a feeling I'll never forget. Thankfully, I knew that my family was okay. When I get home to my house in Brooklyn, there's actually debris in the streets, papers and things from the towers. You see, the way the wind was blowing those days, after the collapse, the trail of smoke actually flew over my neighborhood. You'll actually see it in satellite photos. And we had papers and shredded documents and things that far away. It wasn't like I lived close to Manhattan. It was pretty far off. This is going to be the last radio run I play. And when we come back after this, what we're going to do is we're going to talk to Don Black. He is the president of Cornerstone TV Network. We're going to try to turn this a little more uplifting. Because in the years since 9/11, yes, we've come together, and maybe we've started to forget. But Don is one of those people that will never let us forget. But I want you to hear this last clip, and then we'll take a quick break. Check this out. This is maybe one of the most heart-wrenching first responder radio runs I've heard. And it goes to show you that even, well, you'll see what I mean. Just listen to it.
We're across the street from the towers. This is Tower Room. We have people trapped in the building on the first floor. Bridge.
Units feedback. Yes, Citywide Central's on the air. That's a 1013 at the Triage Center. The EMS Triage Center at the time. It is across the street from the towers.
Hey, person transmitting to Mayday. Where are you, Kate? I just told you. If you look at the World Trade Center, there's a North Pedestrian Bridge. I think it collapsed when that partial building just collapsed. I was on the street. I don't have much more. Please. I copy that. I'm going to go to Hook 4. 10-4. Manhattan Steelcom, urgent case. Manhattan. Please send somebody. Okay, the person calling for help. Listen to me. You need to calm down and relax. Stand by. We do have somebody on the way. You maintain air. Get off the air. We do have somebody on the way over to you. You remain calm. 10-4. 10-4. Make campers look. 10-4. We do have people on the way over there.
Now, I don't know about you, but when I hear that, I get a little emotional. And to hear the fear on that radio run, and to hear the calm under pressure, taking that moment to let them know help's on the way. And to be honest with you, I don't know if help made it over there to that call. But to hear that, how could you ever forget what happened here? How could you ever become complacent? Never forget means never forget, folks. And I know I'll make it a mission of this show that we never forget. If I have to play this every year, I will. to make sure that we never forget what happened that day and never forget why we fight, why we do what we do as Americans, and why we are the last refuge on earth for freedom. It's because of people that you heard on these radio runs. God bless them. God bless America. And wow, I gotta take a break, folks. When we come back, Cornerstone TV Network's Don Black be talking about his efforts to make September 11th a national day of prayer and a national holiday. Gene Baradelli behind enemy lines. We'll be back right after this. If you're a long-time listener of the show, or maybe this is your first time listening, you can probably tell that me and the gang here, we like to have our share of fun, whether it's on or off the air. We talk about 2-drink minimum radio and no medication Wednesdays or whatever day it may be. That's why when we found the people at Less Government, More Fun, we knew it was a match made in heaven with this show. Folks, we live in a time where government is out of hand. Our founding fathers did not intend government to be all-consuming in all parts of our lives. That's why we are telling you to go to lessgovmorefun.com, check out the website, check out the swag. What the people want is less government, more fun. Pass it on, make it happen.
Who might you save?
Your mother, your father, your husband, uncle, aunt, son.
Learn FAST, F-A-S-T, the sudden signs of a stroke, and you could save.
Your friend, teacher, boss.
F, face drooping. A, arm weakness. S, speech difficulty. T, time to call 911. F-A-S-T. That's F, face drooping. A, arm weakness. S, speech difficulty. T, time to call 911. The sooner they get to the hospital, the sooner they'll get treatment. And that can make a remarkable difference in the recovery of
your neighbor, the waiter, grandmother, grandfather.
So learn FAST, the sudden signs of a stroke, then pass it on, because you never know who might save you.
Your wife, your colleague.
Spot a stroke fast. Visit strokeassociation.org, brought to you by the American Stroke Association and the Ad Council.
Behind Enemy Lines Radio is all about being right. No, seriously, it is. If you ever listen to Russ Gallo or me go back and forth on some issue, we always want to make sure that we remember who said what and when we said it. That's why we go to goonrecord.com. It's a brand new social media website. Challenge people on what they believe, whether it's in politics, sports, entertainment, finance, whatever. There's a category for you at goonrecord.com. Check it out right now. Tell us, what do you stand for? It's time for you to go on record. Behind Enemy Lines. Back on the air. Gene Baradelli, back behind Enemy Lines. Joining me on the line right now, it's a pleasure to be speaking with the president and CEO of Cornerstone Television Network and the founder of the In God We Trust movement. They're the people trying to proclaim 9/11 to be an official day of prayer. Of course, I'm talking about Mr. Don Black. Don, how you doing, sir?
Hey, I'm doing great, Gene. It's good to be on with you. I'm doing well.
Good to hear. So why don't you describe for our audience this In God We Trust campaign that you're spearheading?
Well, it started out about 6 months ago, Gene. We broadcast on the television in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. We go across different parts of the nation with television, and we had a guest on our air that was talking about what happened at 9/11, 16 years ago, from just some of the repercussions, and all of us remember, and we all remember that day, and I remember it very clearly. And what he told me, he said this, he said, in the jihad world, in the radical jihad world, they celebrate that day as a day of victory, the day that they defeated the great Satan. And you know what? When he said that, something inside of me just started to stir. And I said, that's just not right. We're Christian. We're Christian broadcasters. We believe in the Bible as our worldview, and we follow Jesus Christ as our Savior and our Lord. And when I heard it, I said, well, we as Christians, we need to stand up and we need to combat that, because on a spiritual front, that's evil, and evil needs to be confronted with good. And good comes from faith, and evil comes from fear. And that's what started and launched the whole idea. We went out to some of our television programmers, the speakers that everybody is comfortable with listening to, and we asked them to come and contribute to the program. Created a half-hour TV special. It's running all over the country, and it asks people to pray, to fast, and then to repent on 9/11. Big gathering point that day on Monday the 11th. And over 110,000 people have signed that petition to date. It's on the president's desk right now.
That's great that it got to the president's desk. Now, obviously, this is a long game. We're not. It may be too late to declare it this year. Next year is probably in the works. But the coalition you've developed here, I mean, just looking at your website, ingodwetrust.tv, I see Dr. Alveda King, I see Pat Robertson, I see people of multiple, different denominations of faith here. This is a wide-ranging coalition. It's unique because, to my knowledge, and I've been involved in Christian broadcasting for over 30 years, to my knowledge, this wide and this deep of a commitment has never come to from that type of a group of men and women. I mean, we have an Orthodox rabbi who's part of it, Rabbi Daniel Lapin. We have most every denomination represented, and I see that as a testimony that this is more than a man's idea. This is a God idea. And that's what these people have joined in, is on the idea. No one was paid any money. Consider this: you're a broadcaster and you work in the broadcasting world. 12 television stations and networks are airing it as a special without any airtime charges. I mean, that just doesn't normally happen. Oh no, I can definitely testify to that. That does not happen very often. That usually happens for like the big, events when you're looking to raise money for some tragedy that happened overseas, and there's that big concert with all the big names, and they broadcast over multiple networks. That's when that normally happens. This is something totally different. Yeah, and we're not asking for money at all. In fact, there's no mention of money. There's no solicitation of funds. We're not about. That's not what this is about. This is about raising a group of people who will be unified in prayer, unified with fasting, and unified in repentance. And that's the condition of 2 Chronicles. And the Scripture says, "If my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and pray and turn from their wicked ways, I will hear from them and I will heal their land." That's the heartbeat of this group, and we think our nation needs healed, and we believe that this is a step. It's not the end. Like you say, it's a long game. This is a step in the direction of watching God take us back to the roots that we were biblically founded on, with a fear of the Lord and a respect for His Word. Now, I see, in addition to the network coverage, you're also going to be having the special on Facebook at various times. I see on Monday, September 11th, 9 a.m., noon, 3 p.m., and 6:30 p.m., all Eastern times on Facebook Live. That's going to increase your audience, especially because as I'm going through your Facebook page, over 60,000 people have come to not only visit the page, but to like it and are following it as well. Yeah, that's a miracle too. I mean, and that is independent of our network. See, Cornerstone Television broadcasts in a regional basis, and so we have a regional family of audience. That group that you're referred to is national and sometimes international, and it's in where they're from. So it is a drawing together. We are broadcasting it live over Facebook, both in the Cornerstone Facebook world and in the In God We Trust Facebook world. We're doing it. We're on Roku. We're on broadcast. We're in streaming online at both websites, ingodwetrust.tv and ctvn.org. So there's lots of avenues for people to connect, to watch, and to join. I'm really not looking for viewers. We're looking for participants, people who share the vision and the values of coming to the Lord with unity and asking Him with targeted prayer at 9 o'clock in the morning on Eastern on September the 11th. That's a Monday, when we join our hearts together. Now, I know people are at work, but, if they're at work, they can still pray. They can still join in. And if they can join us on Facebook or join us online, that's great. If they're at home watching on TV, that's great. I just think that, and numbers are not important to God. They're important to us because it brings unity. I just see this as a unifier in the body of Christ, a unifier that says we're facing challenges,
and we're facing obstacles that are beyond our control, we look to a greater power than ourselves. You know, and if that's where your heart is, and you say there is a higher power than me, I want to submit to that higher power. And in our world, it's the God of the Bible. Our Christian, Judeo-Christian worldview says it's the God of the Bible, and that's who we go to humbly with a repentant heart and ask for his intervention.
You know, as you're talking, and I'm perusing the Facebook page, there's a section where people are talking about where they were on September 11th, 2001. I remember very vividly, you know, being at a time out, you know, being a New Yorker, every New Yorker remembers where they were that day. And, you know, especially, you know, I remember trying to get a hold of family and all this stuff, you know, stuff that we're going to detail during the course of the show. Reading some of these stories and how it's bringing people together in where they were, almost in the way that past generations were with where were you when John F. Kennedy was shot? Where were you during the Challenger disaster in '86? It's amazing how everyone has their story and everyone has been sharing it on the Facebook page.
Well, it impacted our world. It impacted us, and I love to tell you that it was a positive, but it was a horrible impact. Here's how I classify it. And I was able to be there in New York on the 7th anniversary, the 7th day. So it happened on a Tuesday. On the 11th, we were there on the 18th at Ground Zero and helping at Ground Zero to try to. They're still trying to identify and find victims, you know, lost loved ones, and it was a horrible, horrible, horrible thing. And the way I clarify it in terms of what we're trying to do is we're not looking back at history for purposes of just remembrance. I mean, that's good. You know, it's good. It's good for us to remember when we were bombed and attacked at Pearl Harbor. That's good. But this is much deeper than that. This is about what happened in the spiritual dynamic. When we were attacked on 9/11 by an invisible enemy who was motivated by evil, that we don't even know the name of them. I mean, we call them terrorists, but that's a generic. I mean, they don't have uniforms. They could be in the neighborhood. You know, they could be across the street. They could be at church when you go to church. And so that fear has been festering. It's just been festering. We see it erupting all around our nation in hatred and fear. And so we think this is an approach for us to turn against that fear with faith. You know, that we trust God. We're going to put our faith in God. We cannot confront the enemy on our own. We have to have God's assistance. And you know what? I was so excited to see President Trump declare last Sunday as a day of prayer for the victims of this terrible storm that hit in the Texas coast and then Louisiana. It encourages me that our president will do that. Love him or hate him, he was courageous enough to declare a day of prayer, and that to me, that's a big plus. Well, there's definitely a respect for the social conservative communities, regardless of, you know, whatever political stripe they're in, and especially for the evangelical community that President Trump seems to have a soft spot for. And of course, you know, we're all glad to see that. It's such a difference between uniting and dividing, and Trump has been more unifying for many, especially on the right, than anyone has seen in a very long time, probably since Reagan. But in bringing all this up, and we're talking to Don Black, the president and CEO of Cornerstone Television Network, talking about the In God We Trust movement and the broadcast coming on September 11th. How can people get involved with this, Don, if they wanted to? Well, it's still not too late to sign the petition. And as you say, it is on the president's desk. I have 3 channels that assured me that it is on his desk. So, you know, you don't make the president do anything you ask him to consider. So we are still believing that he will actively consider our request. If he doesn't do it for this year, then there is next year. But you can still sign a petition. Do that simply at ingodwetrust.tv. Go to that website, sign the petition. It's very simple. It's very, very easy to do. And then participate with us on Monday the 11th. Become part of that group who's coming together. There'll be hundreds of thousands of us that are gathering together in prayer. It's a unique television experience that we'll broadcast online and on Facebook. and it will be different than you've ever seen before. It's a different kind of experience. Join us in that and be part of the solution. The solution is prayer.
And by the way, if you're listening to this after the 11th, either on podcast or whatever means there are out there, don't just limit yourself to September 11th for this day of prayer and day of action. You know, the movement continues forward beyond just one day. And I'm sure, you know, you go to InGodWeTrust.tv, go to the Facebook group, you'll see the interaction will continue and grow beyond just that day. Right, Don?
That's what we're watching to happen. We're not an organization. I'm going to make it really clear. We're not an organization. We're a movement. You know, we don't have a president. We don't have a nonprofit status. We are a movement of people who are like-minded. So we'll watch and see what happens next. You know, there's not a 3-year strategic plan. I mean, we're moving forward as we're led to do so. And I think as long as there are things that we need to stand up and make our presence known and voices heard, I believe that will be our goal, is just to be that voice. Jesus said we're salt and we're light. You know, and we need to be salt. And if our country seems to be dark, we need to try to illuminate that with the light that God has put inside of us as believers. And so that's what this is all about. It's purely, it's like back in the 70s and the 60s, purely a grassroots, heart-to-heart connection.
And that's the beautiful thing about it. Folks, go to www.InGodWeTrust.tv. Check out the website. Sign the petition while you still can. Check out the Facebook, InGodWeTrust.tv. Don, this is a beautiful thing coming out of such a tragic day that still scars so many people's hearts. Thank you for doing this, and I'll be watching definitely at my desk, you know, as much as I can be, and you'll have my prayers and my hopes that this continues beyond this one day. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thanks for having me on. God bless you, and I hope to talk to you soon.
Hey, folks, I just want to let you know about a great opportunity for listeners of Behind Enemy Lines Radio. If you go to our website, www.behindenemylinesradio.us, and click on the SaneBox ad on the right side of the page, you will get a great opportunity for a discounted offer to join SaneBox. SaneBox filters out all the unimportant email from your inbox so that you can really focus on what matters. If you're anything like me, folks, you get hundreds of pieces of email a day, not many of which is important. SaneBox's smart filter will get everything you need to fly through your inbox and finally make email work for you. It gets rid of spam emails, it deprioritizes emails that aren't as important to you, and it helps you unsubscribe from mailing lists and individual senders with ease. So again, go to www.behindenemylinesradio.us and you click on the SaneBox ad and you'll be given an exclusive offer you won't find anywhere else.
Time for a little music. We call this, What the F*** is Maxine Waters Saying?
To be clear, you believe it would have been better to keep in place an FBI director who you said had no credibility to oversee this investigation than to find someone who you think would be a better choice?
No. But I believe the president thought that. Don't forget. You're talking about what some Democrats said, what I said, but don't forget, he was the president. The president supported him. He had confidence in him. It was within his power. And
but you said he had no credibility, so it would seem to make sense that he should get rid of him.
No. Under investigation, this president basically has interfered with an investigation where he may be implicated. That's outrageous, and that's why we're having so much of a conversation about it today.
The bottom line is that you think an FBI director without credibility would have been best served in this position to try to pursue this investigation.
I think if the president had fired him when he first came in, he would not have to be in a position now where he's trying to make up a story about why it does not meet the smell test.
Yeah, something smells all right.
Understood. So if Hillary Clinton had won the White House, would you have recommended that she fire FBI Director James Comey?
Well, let me tell you something. If she had won the White House, I believe that given what he did to her and what he tried to do, she should have fired him.
So she should have fired him, but he shouldn't have fired him. This is why I'm confused.
No, no, you're not confused.
Yes, I am. Gene Baradelli, back behind enemy lines. You know, the first part of the show was kind of heavy. We're kind of going to try to lighten it up towards the end here. And thank goodness for Hillary Clinton. Because if not for her releasing her book this week, I wouldn't get to play this again.
Top secret data purloined by a gremlin. Misdeeds exposed with some help from the Kremlin. WikiLeaks published the emails we tossed. These are a few of the reasons I lost. Draft beer and vino and vodka martini all disappear like I'm freaking Houdini. It's not a secret I like to get sauced. These are a few of the reasons I lost. Girls in blue dresses with DNA traces. Bill has me threaten the girls he embraces. With my assistance he's free to accost. These are a few of the reasons I lost. When I'm lying, testifying, I concoct a tale. I look for excuses and others to blame, and then I won't go to jail. Tantrums and breakdowns and fake tears with tissues, obvious signs of some medical issues, fainting and stumbling and eyes that go crossed. These are a few of the reasons I lost. Because of my gender, I think I've been slighted. There's a good chance that I may be indicted. Image as cold as a New England frost. These are a few of the reasons I lost. Currency laundered through Clinton Foundation. Influence peddling that threatens our nation. All the offenses I've seemed to amass. These are the reasons that Trump kicked my ass. When I'm lying, testifying, I concoct a tale. I look for excuses and others to blame, but I still may go to jail.
And now Hillary has added some new chapters to the list of excuses of why she lost. In fact, it's a whole book of why she lost. Hillary Clinton, what happened? Or as people outside of New York say, what happened? Her new book, What Happened, is now hitting stores, and she's going on book signing tours the week of 9/11. That's not tone deaf at all. Hillary is adding to the list of people to blame, other than Hillary Clinton, for losing this election. Can I just say how much I love this, folks? I love that Hillary Clinton is insisting on inserting herself into the news cycle. I love that Hillary Clinton is remaining as what she thinks is a top Democrat. I love that Hillary Clinton thinks she's still relevant in a Trump era. I love that Hillary Clinton is still the albatross around the necks of a Democratic Party that wants to move so far beyond her, it's ridiculous. But let's add to the blame game, shall we? According to the new book, what happened? Well, what happened is Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders is the reason why Hillary Clinton lost. It wasn't the fact that the DNC had actually stacked the odds against Bernie Sanders. But now, because Bernie pushed her so far left and was giving away ponies, according to Hillary Clinton, I think she's confusing Bernie Sanders with Vermin Supreme. Maybe that's just me. But because she kept saying that, because Bernie kept over-promising people, that she had to go along with it. Not point out that it's dumb to overpromise things that the government can't deliver on. Not that, you don't want to be considered socialist or create a scheme where nobody can keep what they earn and what they create. So what happened is Bernie struck, and Bernie killed Hillary's campaign. It wasn't the fact that Bernie was winning, or that Hillary was still, in spite of Bernie winning, getting half electoral votes from states because of the superdelegate system and the scheme set up by the DNC. What happened is Hillary was getting beat because Bernie was promising free stuff for everyone. Hillary was feeling the frustration that we as conservatives feel about Democrats in general. That there is no such thing as free. I guess Hillary maybe she was embracing her inner conservative there. I don't know. But here's who else Hillary's blaming. Other women. Not just all women. Just women who did not vote for her. In a story that's been hitting the news this week, upon, reading the angry accounts of what happened, Hillary talks about the Women's March in D.C. and other cities across America as being bittersweet because it contrasts the enthusiasm of activists after she lost with the lack of enthusiasm that she generated with her campaign. Gee, really? I wonder if that has anything to do with the candidate. I wonder if that has anything to do with you, Hillary, that you were not inspiring enough to generate the response of the Women's March in D.C. Maybe you should look at yourself. Hillary Clinton recounts moments when, women said to her that they're sorry they didn't vote for her. And there's this idea of Hillary being mean to these people. I wanted to share right in her eyes, says Hillary, and say, you didn't vote? How could you not vote? You abdicated your responsibility as a citizen at the worst possible time. For her, maybe, the worst possible time for Hillary when she needed to vote. And now you want me to make you feel better? Of course, I didn't say any of that. Of course, because Hillary is duplicitous and a liar and crooked. These people were looking for absolution that I just couldn't give. Absolution. Let's think about that word for a second. A word normally associated with the granting of forgiveness in religion that, at least in the Catholic faith, a priest will grant to you from God to him to you for confession of your sins. Hillary is comparing not voting or not voting for her as a sin that she cannot forgive. Are you kidding me? This is the height of arrogance. This is the height of hubris. I mean, I can't even wrap my head around this, especially this week. In a week when we're supposed to be remembering everyday heroes and first responders and those who gave their lives, and 343 firemen in New York City, and over 50 police officers between NYPD and Port Authority, and people who lost their lives in Flight 93, and people who lost their lives at the Pentagon, and the thousands of servicemen and women who lost their lives overseas since then in Iraq and Afghanistan. But Hillary Clinton is going around saying, I cannot forgive the sin of not voting for me. I love that she's still in the news cycle. I love that this is still lingering about. I love that Hillary Clinton is still trying to insist upon her relevance and impose herself on everyone. Please stay in the news cycle for at least another year and a half, Hillary. Run again if you want to run again in 2020. I want you to drag down the ticket in 2018 for the midterms. I want you to run again in 2020 and primary any young upstart or up-and-coming Democrat, socialist, liberal, whatever you want to call themselves. Stay in the news. Write another 3 books. Write a book a year. I want What Happened Volume 2, What Happened Volume 3, What Happened Volume 4. I want to know all the details of why you lost. And I want you to keep pontificating about how everyone's at fault but you. Bernie Sanders, creepy Donald Trump, the electorate, people who didn't turn out to vote, people who did turn out to vote, people who turned out to vote but didn't vote for you, people who voted for third parties, Russia, James Comey, Anthony Weiner, Huma Abedin. I want you to put it all out there. I want you to wrap it all up in a nice, neat package. I want different volumes. I want an encyclopedia worth of Hillary Clinton saying, what happened? I want it all. And I want you to keep doing, because the more you keep talking, the more Democrats are going to cringe, the more ammunition you give Republicans, who will probably get off the hook for all the inactivity and the failures of governing that we've been seeing in the past few months. I want Hillary Clinton to be talking 24/7 on every major liberal-leaning news network, talking about what happened. Because then I know we'll win. I know that Republicans will maintain power. I know that Donald Trump will get reelected. I know that we'll retain majorities in the House and the Senate. I know that conservative judges will be appointed to different courts of appeals and different district court levels, and maybe even to the Supreme Court if there should be any vacancies in the next 6-7 years. Hillary Clinton is the best spokesperson for the Republican Party right now because of her shocking lack of self-awareness, her audacity, and her tone-deaf attitude towards the worst campaign in history. And that'll about do it for this week's show, folks. I want to thank everybody for listening to the show. Time for a quick final thought. Next week, we got some great guests coming on, scheduled to come on next week. Kevin and Sam Sorbo, talking about their new movie, Let There Be Light, produced by Sean Hannity. He's an executive producer on it. And we're going to be talking about the movie. We're going to be talking about acting as a family. Their kids get involved in the movie. We're going to talk about the message of the movie and a whole lot more. But also as a final thought for this week, we've had some primary elections across the nation, especially in the People's Republic of New York City. Bill de Blasio, of course, he won his Democrat primary, but he didn't win as big as I thought he would have won. He got under 80% with a field of nobodies. Yes, he got reelected. Yes, he had a great number of votes. Of course, there was low turnout because Democrat primary in New York. You might as well just stay home for the general, right? So, Bill de Blasio did not get the hardcore Democrats that I thought he would be getting. Could he be vulnerable? One can only hope and pray. We'll see if up-and-comer Nicole Malliotakis can actually do anything with this. I'm still leaning towards a heavy no, but we shall see as the elections turn. But that'll do it for this week's show. I want to thank everybody for listening to the show. Like I said, next week's going to be an awesome show. We'll try to get Russ into the mix. Of course, we normally do this at the end of the show, but check us out at www.BehindEnemyLinesRadio.us. Check us out on the Facebooks and Twitters at BEL_radio. And if you missed any part of this show as we broadcast live normally, Tuesdays 10 p.m. Eastern on Spreaker, you can check us out on any one of our rebroadcast outlets, including WJHC 107.5 FM in Jasper, Florida. Stay strong, Florida. We're behind you all the way as you rebuild from Irma. You can also check us out at Talk 92.1 WDDQ, Adele, Georgia, and also News Talk 1330 AM WLBB, Carrollton, Georgia, all a part of the Talk America Live Radio Network. Talk America Radio Network, whatever you want to call it. Check them out at TalkAmericaRadio.us. You can also check out KLRN Radio, High Plains Talk Radio, and Sackheads Media, ICRN, the Internet's Conservative Radio Network, which powers the Talk America Radio Network, and of course, Lanterns.buzz. Check them out. One of the fastest growing internet radio stations out there. And by the way, if you miss any of the rebroadcasts, you can always check us out on iTunes, Stitcher, Spreaker, Podbay, TuneIn, Player FM. You can discover us on Google Play Podcasts, Auto Radio, the new project of Sirius XM, SoundCloud, and of course, the mighty, mighty iHeartRadio Network. That'll do it for this week's show, folks. Time to shut this thing down. We are out of here. Good night, folks.
Our position's been compromised. It's time to roll out. Report for debriefing at www.BehindEnemyLinesRadio.us and look for regular communications via Facebook and Twitter at BEL_radio. You are the resistance. Behind Enemy Lines. A Rock Radio production. Back in 7 days. Out.